It is Millsap in the morning. I missed the theme song. Just don't get enough of it. It is the 22nd day of July from the Ozark Fiber Studios in downtown Lebanon. Here in Lebanon, we believe local matters, and that includes your internet. Ozark Fiber is a Missouri-based company bringing high-speed fiber internet to our community. That means faster speeds, reliable connections, and support from people who actually live and work right here. Experience the difference with Ozark Fiber. Check your availability at ozarkfiber.com. Well, it's great to be back. Actually, we were here last week, but we really weren't here last week. I was spending time down in Nashville. We had Randy Hanks on the show. We pre-recorded that, and so we did have Millsap in the morning last week with our presiding commissioner, and we did spend a lot of time talking about Amendment 5, which was on the ballot, will be on the ballot on August 4th. We discussed at length about that measure and the property tax relief that may come along with that, and also the phasing out of the income tax, but being replaced by a sales tax and what impact that would have on local government. So there was a lot to unpack regarding that. Interesting enough, as you've listened to a lot of interviews, and on this show, Scott Fitzpatrick, the state auditor, was on with us about a month ago, and he talked about that amendment and talked about us in Missouri needing to compete with the state of Tennessee. And I spent the last week in Nashville with the Mid-Missouri Angels, by the way. That is a 14U softball team that I call myself a co-owner of that team. My son coaches it. My granddaughter Abigail plays on the team. Girls from Lebanon, Stoutland, Ava, Buffalo, and Osage Beach are all on that softball team. We had a lot of fun with them down at Nashville. And, you know, I've been going to Nashville since 1979. I've probably been there 6, 8, 10 times over the years, and that place has really changed. And I spent time downtown at Nashville on a Sunday night, and I bet there was conservatively probably 8,000 people downtown with the restaurants that are downtown and all the stuff that goes on down there. And, you know, I'm looking around, went back the next day. During the day, they closed off the street. They had a big concert downtown, probably another 4,000 or 5,000 people downtown. On a Monday afternoon that I was down there, went to the Ryman Auditorium, went down to the Country Music Hall of Fame, toured Studio B, and then on Tuesday night, went to the Tuesday night Opry show out at Opryland, what used to be Opryland, and at what I would call the new Grand Ole Opry, though they've been there since 1974. That show is sold out around 4,000 people. On Friday night, went to a Nashville Sound game. They probably had 4,000 people at the ballpark. The Friday night Opry was probably sold out. Another 5,000 or so downtown. So I don't know how Missouri, in using Amendment 5, will compete with Tennessee. I know there's a big push. I heard Catherine Hanaway, who's the Missouri Attorney General, former Speaker of the House, talk about St. Louis needing to compete and losing population, and I keep thinking that that's going to be tough for them to do that and comparing themselves with Nashville, Tennessee. So, but anyway, an interesting trip. Went on down to Atlanta and found out that Atlanta, Georgia is really hot. And then come back to Missouri, and it's really hot. But today's weather, not going to be bad at all. Great day after the heat yesterday, high humidity yesterday. Today, the high around 81. Tomorrow, another great day. It's going to be 82. Friday's supposed to be in the low 80s before the heat returns on Saturday with about a 90% chance of rain on Saturday. So a great day to get out. I will be spending most of my day mowing grass that grew very well while I was in the state of Tennessee. Well, this morning we're going to get off the subject of Nashville. We're going to talk to our guest, is Royce Tuck, who is a candidate for state representative in District 142. He's challenging Dr. Jeff Brown in the primary. The seat is currently held by Jeff Knight, who is term limited out. And we'll be back with Royce Tuck right after this. Millsap in the morning.
Got a birthday coming, are you feeling the heat? Need a way to make the party super sweet. Don't you worry, don't you fret, we've got the best fun you can get. Scott Event Rentals, bringing the joy. Fun for every girl, fun for every boy. Inflatables bouncing, reaching for the sky. Outdoor games that make the time fly by. Scott Event Rentals, your party dream team, making memories burst at the seams. From bouncy houses to the slides so tall, we've got the games to thrill them all. Safe and sound, let the laughter play. We're here to make it a perfect day. Scott Event Rentals, bringing the joy. Fun for every girl, fun for every boy. Inflatables bouncing, reaching for the sky. Outdoor games that make the time fly by. Scott Event Rentals.
Millsap's
Got a birthday
on the
coming, are
town's
you
away.
feeling the heat?
Downtown Lebanon starts to shake.
Millsap in the morning on this Wednesday here in downtown Lebanon. We'll start our guest. He's running for the State House in seat 142 against Dr. Jeff Brown. Royce, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Tell me who Royce Tuck is.
I'm a country boy. That's all I've ever been. I grew up north of Lebanon on a little family farm, barefoot in the plowed ground. Went to school at Stoutland and graduated. Worked a couple of years at the Leb Cut plant in quality control. Joined the Air Force for 10 years. In that 10 years, I spent 2 years as instructor in air traffic control communication systems. Then 3 years teaching surveillance for Electronic Security Command, which is the Air Force component for intelligence gathering. After I got out, because of some hearing damage and bumps and bruises and things, that worked in places like I wrote programming for Ford Motor Company to keep track of the transportation trucks coming in and out. I worked network control for the largest privately owned law firm in the world in a situation that was an international distributed computer system, kind of a preliminary or a small version of what we think of data centers today, but they were in different cities in the world and keeping them talking to each other. The last job was product testing. Basically, companies would send us products, and we'd test to make sure they met certain requirements, whether it was government or DOT or whatever, so that the corporation made sure they had those things tested before they put them into their final product and sold them out on the market. So I've got kind of a little bit of everything. 4 years of cruise missiles. So going from digging potatoes to having your hands in the middle of nuclear weapons, that's kind of a jump.
You have run for this position before. Tell me why you've decided to run again.
Part of that is Lebanon has, I don't say Lebanon, this whole area, maybe areas outside of Missouri, are kind of apathetic about what's going on. They hear rumors and say, okay, this is what the truth is. Whether it is or not, they don't know. They just heard it that way. So there gets to be a point that we need to have somebody, come in and try to encourage people to be more involved in what's going on around them, and be a source so they can call up and say, just exactly what the heck does this mean? What does it do to us? And then having my wide experience in Jeff City, I don't just get a bill, look at it, do Google searches. I already have a basic starting ground for most of the things that we're talking about in the last several years. And that means asking questions and looking at the ramifications of these bills, which we rarely do. We pass a bill that says the sun's going to come up in the morning. Great bill. But nobody looked at the ramifications. Is the sun's got to go down sometime. So there's both sides of this, and both sides need to be out, not only to the people in Jeff City, but the people out here, so they know.
Well, you bring up an interesting comment there when you say that people that I guess currently people aren't reading the bills and they're Google searching and is somewhat of a broad statement. How do you back that up to say that's even true?
Well, that's more aimed at the politicians in Jeff City, and that's talking to these politicians as we go campaigning, and we've been at several different events and things like that. There are some people that are lawyers that can tell you the legal aspect of everything that goes down. There are some people that are sociologists, and they can tell you all that's going on down. But there's few that seem to have a wide breadth of experience. And you need that. I'll bring up an example from 4 years ago that Jeff City tried to pass a where we'd recycle shingles. And the best of shingles, we go through this whole recycling, build a big plant and all that. Sounded great, but at no point did anybody in Jeff City, and I watched this like we were talking earlier about watching it on the internet, nobody ever asked what happened to all the waste products from all that. So we're not looking at the full picture, and we're not giving that full picture to the people back here it matters. Data centers are a big thing. Let me put it to you this one, data centers. Finish this sentence. Data centers are bad because of
the environmental problem. And by the way, I ask questions, I don't answer questions, but go ahead.
Okay. Now, if you put in the word business, and this is to make a point, it's not really
Right.
good information.
Gotcha.
If you take out data center and you put in the word business, say that line again. Okay. What it does is it takes out data center and puts in the word business. We have focused so much on data centers that any number of other corporations could come in and use the same methodology they used in Marshfield to build plants other than data centers. But we're so focused on data centers, we're missing all these other things. So we really need to go in and strengthen what needs to be strengthened. The economic reports, the ecology, water, energy, ground temperature, all of that needs to be put into a fixed pattern. So whether it's a data center or they're making dog food, they have to meet the same requirements. In the big scheme, great big scheme of things, data centers are good. They bring in lots of tax money. They don't have a whole lot of pressure on services within the city, but they've got to meet these requirements or they're going to destroy what we have here. And that's the basic problem with what's going on.
You describe yourself in some of your social media as a traditional moderate Republican. Tell me what that is.
That goes back to Reagan era, where we really did look to shrink government, where we really did look to bring everything back down to its lowest level. And we've kind of drifted away from that. And it's a slow process to where we got today. But Republicans are always known to support business. And we've kind of shifted off supporting business to supporting businessmen. And that's not quite the same thing. And you can argue terminology on that kind of thing all day. But the point is that we need to increase business, not necessarily businessman incomes, but we need to increase businesses. If we increase businesses, we increase their profits, hopefully, and there's nothing that makes them do that, but hopefully they'll come down and improve the wages of the people that work for them.
And you bring up Ronald Reagan, who was really not the beginning of the conservative movement of the Republican Party. You can actually date them back to 1964 and Barry Goldwater as really kind of founding father somewhat of conservative Republicans. And Reagan was a huge Goldwater supporter, and then later certainly began a more conservative nature of the Republican Party. He was very pragmatic in his ability to kind of wheel and deal with Congress, especially in his first term. But I wouldn't consider him to be a moderate Republican.
Well, it kind of depends if you're looking at modern as a word today or a word it was back then. But, okay, you can put whatever name you want on it. English language is lovely. You got words that mean so many different things. But moderate kind of puts me middle of the road. And a lot of that is there is a gap between me and what you would call the big Republican Party. There are some gaps in there, mostly in the way things are approached, not in goal, but in process. But as far as being moderate, we need to cut back on spending. We're not, whether it's state, local, or federal. We need to get control of our military, which we are having difficulty doing at the current time. And if you bring it back down to our level, we have a government in Jeff City that brings up this income tax replacement that was given to us incomplete. There's no, I heard it from lots of people at the fair when I was out there, that we really don't have a plan of how that all is going to happen. And it's going to happen in 5 years, and unfortunately, I don't think you can make that kind of a big jump in economics statewide in a 5-year period.
I want to come back. We'll talk a little bit about that. I'll talk a little bit about what I would consider would be an uphill battle, as you describe yourself as a moderate Republican, and middle of the road as, about 50%, almost 50% of Missourians vote as a Republican. 77% of that 49% that vote Republican consider themselves conservative Republicans. And we'll come back. We'll talk with Royce Tuck with more of Millsap in the Morning right after this.
I'm Jeremy Goforth.
And I'm Holly Goforth, and we're with Legacy Homes. So this house sits in Legacy Trails. This is a 68-acre subdivision that sits right next to Ashley Park. Approximately 127 lots that we will be building on. What's unique about this subdivision is that we're connecting Ashley Park's trails into our subdivision that will go through our subdivision and connect back to the park.
The Legacy Trails, we have all kinds of homes. The minimum is 1,500 square foot, high efficiency, new construction homes. If you're interested in this house or any other home in Legacy Trails, we have 10 house plans available. Contact Legacy Homes at
417-718-1962 or 417-718-2051, and don't forget to look us up on.
What's misunderstood is people think it's for, lazy people or quitters. It's absolutely not.
What surprises most people about disability cases?
How long it takes, how difficult it is to win the claim, how much treatment is required to win a claim. All of those things surprise clients.
Can somebody be denied if they're genuinely sick or hurt?
Yes, they can. It's very common, especially around here. I have people that are extremely disabled that have never sought medical treatment. Almost all those claimants are denied, especially at initial application.
What advice would you give someone that's scared to apply?
To pick up the phone and call me. I can, talk to you about the whole process. I can tell you types of treatment to get before you apply. I can tell you basically how to apply. You can come into my office. We can fill out the application together and schedule the appointment with the Social Security Administration. There is no need to be nervous. We offer free consultations.
Call Deputy in Mizell at 877-532-2191. Free consultations, day, evening, or weekend. Get the disability benefit that is owed to you.
Wake up with Millsap in the morning. From the brick on Commercial to old 66, he's got the people, the news.
11 morning on this, the 22nd day of July. Great day in Lebanon. Royce Tuck is our guest here on Millsap in the Morning. Royce is running for District 142, the House seat, against Dr. Jeff Brown. We were talking about the fact that you were describing yourself as a moderate Republican, and I brought up the 49% of Missourians vote Republican. About 77% of the 49 consider themselves to be conservative Democrats. I would imagine in Laclede County, Dallas County, and Camden County, which makes up the 142nd, that percentage is probably higher. How do you attract voters to your campaign describing yourself as a moderate when most Republicans in this area consider themselves conservatives?
There's a point now, and it's one of those things that nobody really likes to talk about. The National Republican Party is finding itself in some disarray. And that disarray is felt down by the people walking on our streets, walking downtown, going to Walmart or wherever. So that's kind of where I fall. I fall on that point that hopefully is to make a little common sense out of this mess we've been handed. We really got to talk about, here again, it's informing people. One of the goals of this campaign has been it's important who you vote for, or for what office. It's important. But it's also important that you research the person and you research their positions. Whether it's me or not is immaterial. Do your research. We got so many people voting off how many signs they've seen on the way to the poll. Things like that. So it's an education process. And again, we're right back to there's an area in that Republican Party that is not, for lack of a better term, is not MAGA. And so it's more applying to that group of people out there that don't want to leave the Republican Party, have the same Republican values, just have a little problem of how they're being used or how they're being approached or what they're going to be done with.
Well, tell me, and you say that have the Republic. What do you see as the Republican values?
Republican values are those that we always had. Republicans always been business. That's from forever, Lincoln, but has always been for business. But they've always been concerned for everything under that as well. We're going back to governing at the lowest point. Include everything from government, property taxes, education, medical services, social services. All that needs to be brought down to an area that it can be controlled. Missouri needs to make sure that we control those social services. And that means that we go in, we make sure we have, here are your requirements to get this service, whatever it happens to be. Here's your requirements. If you meet those requirements, we're going to do everything we can to get you into it. We don't want to see the fraud and abuse that we hear about, but we don't want to cut out those people who need those services. And some of them were cut out with a hatchet from federal money and things that we kind of says chop, 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 and we'll figure it out later. So being moderate is take care of business, which is where we get our money, which is where we get our food, which is where we get our houses, and getting those businesses to encourage them to help the people that work there. And we've kind of lost that thing in business. We no longer have as much as the loyalty factor as we had back when you and I were younger. So, you know, it's really kind of a middle of the road. Maybe moderate isn't the right word, but that's really what it is. It's a middle of the road Republican that isn't going to go out and blow up a business. So I cut out competition. It's building up businesses. It's not cutting services. It's not giving us rules of what our schools can teach. That should be down here at a lower level, and there's a whole plan behind that as well.
Tell me, when we talk about some of those fundamental beliefs, tell me where you stand on the right to life issue.
Right to life is difficult. I don't want to say pro-life, but I do look at it the way we have now at 12 weeks is a good thing. And I say that because I look at it, we're not looking at it in the way that it really should be looked at. We should look at what is life? What is the life?
Millsap in the morning. Millsap's on the town to wait.
All right, we're back. A little technical difficulty there, but hey, you were in computers, so you know what technical difficulties happening. So I'm going to go back, and we were talking about Right to Life, so I just want to get a clarification. Are you supportive? Are you a Right to Life candidate?
Okay, that takes a bit of an explanation.
Go right ahead.
Okay, as I started to say, Missouri, to say abortion is the end of life, or a end of life, you need to look at it legally so we don't have this immaterial thing. And that is, we have a legal definition in Missouri of what death is. We do not have a legal definition of what alive is. If we make that legal definition, and I've got documents on how that would come about, it comes back to about the 12-week of the cells being viable. And it goes by, it says, if this is one of the things that says you're dead, which is lack of brain activity, that means if you go back and this has brain activity, it must mean it's alive. So with that definition, yes, I don't want anything happening beyond that point. So the question is what do we do between 0 and 12 weeks? That's all in definition. Personally, I'm against abortion at any point. Professionally, you got to look at everybody else has their opinion, and I can't step on other people's opinion. They said that 2 years ago, and I'm not going to let's not do do-overs and go backs and all that kind of thing.
And Amendment 3 will be on the ballot in November. If you are elected in August to run in the November general election, will you be supporting Amendment 3, which is the Right to Life Amendment?
No, it's a do-over. Has absolutely nothing to do with the subject, but we cannot start a cycle of, I didn't like the way this went, so we're going to do it again in 2 years, and then we're going to do it again in 2 years. We don't even need to start that. Let's just back up. It was stated 2 years ago, this is the law. Now let's go back and rethink how all this is. But no do-overs, no.
So you will not support Amendment 3?
I will not support Amendment 3 because it's a do-over.
Okay. Where do you stand on Second Amendment issues?
When I was in first grade, Conservation Commission came out, brought 22 rifles, gave them all to our class, and took us out and taught us how to shoot 22s. I've been handling firearms and items all my life. Do I support? Yes, I support the right to bear arms. There are some things I don't agree with we need, but it doesn't fall under the Second Amendment.
Okay. And when you say falls under the things that we need, what would that be?
I personally don't see why a hunter needs a silencer, but that's my opinion. And it doesn't fall under necessarily what I would consider Second Amendment. That's just somebody's right to have one of those. Just because I don't want one doesn't make a difference. So it doesn't fall under the Second Amendment. It doesn't become part of that argument, even though Supreme Court has had some disagreements with that. You you're running for an office that would represent 3 counties, parts of Laclede, all of Dallas, and parts of Camden County. Tell me how those counties differ from one another. Lebanon tends to be a little more, I don't call it metropolitan, but that's about what it amounts to. They have a lot more business here. They have more people, more centralized here. So it's different than the more rural feel that you get in Buffalo or Max Creek or some of these other places. They're smaller, they're more mom and pop. They're not, there's not a lot of change in the population as far as there's not a lot of new people coming in, not a lot of people going out. So it's a very established society. And the way that it's set up is that this is the way it's been done, and this is the way we're going to continue to do it. And you got to go to, like going out in the farmland. You got to say, hey, guys, this is just the way it is. This is the reality of it. Now, you're welcome to disagree. We could disagree all day. But I tried to get facts, and I tried to tell everybody what this is what it is. It just takes a different approach. Just like I said, a different approach when I talk to NATO war staff when I was in the military. It's different when I talk to the guys I grew up with. It's different when I talk to somebody at the county fair. It's different when I talk to the people at Buffalo Chamber of Commerce. You've got to be able to change your approach with who you're talking to. And that just comes from talking to lots of different people over the years. I mean, you see it whether you realize it or not. It's just that we look at each other a little bit different. We understand where they came from, and we take our approach a little differently.
What are the major issues that people are talking to you about?
The major issues, honestly, was taxing. They don't like the tax amendment. They don't like number 4 and number 5 seems to have a great deal of opposition. And I talked to sitting politicians that said they voted yes just so the population could vote no. They knew the population would vote against it, but for whatever reason, they decided they'd officially vote yes. But that's two of the biggest things I look at is 4 and 5. The biggest things that people are against that. People are against data centers, but they need to broaden that explanation out to businesses in general. And we need to be able to find a way to protect counties, smaller counties, from what happened to in Marshfield, where the data center just kind of came in and started building. They went into minimal background checks, is my understanding. I'm not an expert on that subject, but data centers are a hot topic. Child care is a hot topic. Medical services. Here in Lebanon, so far, it doesn't appear we have a great big problem. You go out into Buffalo, Max Creek, some of these other small places out in the middle of where we grew up, or I grew up, out in the middle of wherever, medical services aren't readily available to them. And so we need to make sure that we make some kind of services available to these rural counties.
Well, I'd have to challenge you on that, and I'll do it this way. You grew up in Stoutland. You've got Lake Regional Hospital. You've got Mercy Hospital. You've got a medical facility in Richland, a clinic. I think there may be maybe 2 clinics there. In Buffalo, you have the hospital at Bolivar. You're maybe 30 miles from Springfield, and you've got Cox and Mercy there. So when you say that rural Missouri there's no medical services, what would you add to that?
Well, let's put it to you this way. Early in the year, I had a disagreement with the table saw with my fingers. It happens. I was able to wrap it up, drive 10 miles to the Lebanon Hospital, Mercy Hospital. That's fine. You get the same injury in Buffalo. Where the heck you got to drive to get that kind of treatment? Hopefully, and there are some doctor's offices in Buffalo, but we need to make sure that these towns have some kind of clinic set up or clinic availability for those kind of issues. We grew up in a time where we didn't have ambulances and air services. We had to make those services ourselves. And we're going to have to go back to that to make sure that there are services, particularly emergency services, in Buffalo and as many other places that we can have them. Do we need them in Lebanon? We've got them in Lebanon. Do they need them in Bolivar? They got them in Bolivar. They need them in Springfield? Springfield has them. Do they have them in Buffalo? Well, do they?
Well, I'd have to go back and check about clinics, but again, they're about an ambulance ride of 15, 20 minutes to different spots. I guess part of that would be, how would you fund that when Missouri is looking at some financial issues to begin with, and how do you expand that, and what do you cut so you can put those types of things? Missouri's in a spending issue.
That's right. We spent more money than we had, and I'm going to probably continue that. And some of the answers get to be a little difficult. And I say that because the first response to anybody is we will give them tax cuts, or we will give them, whatever. Problem is, until the tax amendment passes or doesn't pass, we don't know. That's a moving target. So now we have to go back and say, okay, to do that, does Missouri fund it? No, probably not. Like you said, it doesn't have the money. Could there be programs to encourage it? Probably could be. Could be programs set up through the med school for University of Missouri. Other states have done it, set up the small clinics for, even if it's just a day or two a week, whatever, get these help to the people that need it. We do what it takes. We do what we got to do. And does that mean funding? Again, no, it probably does not mean funding, because we don't have the funding. So we either have to look at money probably on a local basis or something to have that happen. I don't have all the answers to it. I don't pretend to have all the answers to it. I do have a goal in mind, and that's one of the goals that I would work for.
I'll let you have the last word.
Hello?
Okay. Is that your last word?
That's my final word.
Or you can
my
say,
final answer.
Or you can say goodbye.
Goodbye.
There you go. That is Royce Tuck. He is running for District 142 House of Representatives. Next week on Millsap in the Morning, we wrap up all of our political interviews with candidates with Dr. Jeff Brown, who is running for District 142. And don't forget that on election night, on primary night, on August 4th, starting around 7 o'clock, Taylor Howe will join me as Lebanon Now will have coverage of the election, the primary election, and the race in 142, the District 16 Senate race, and all the other races that will impact our area right here on Lebanon Now. Again, we'll start that around 7 o'clock. Join me next week on Millsap in the Morning on Wednesday with Dr. Jeff Brown. Until then, I'm David Millsap. So long, everybody.